I wanted to showcase a little Keyboard Maestro macro that I did for Premiere. I had the thought the other day of wanting to recreate an automation for creating scene IDs in my Premiere project. For those not in the animation world, scene IDs are what we generate to label every shot, every animated shot has a start and an end in the animatic phase, and you label them. You could put a new frame counter on them, and they have a unique number, and that's what gets categorized and sent over to the animation studio. So some companies have their own proprietary software that has automated this process. I've seen it done using Premiere and PNG files created from kind of blank text in Photoshop and batch renaming them in a certain fashion. I wanted to see if I could do it with Keyboard Maestro using only Premiere, using only Premiere's tools. So that's what this macro is. And I'm going to walk you through how I did that. Okay, we're back. So right now you're seeing my Premiere window. This is my editing reel that I haven't publicly posted because I'm still using some unaired stuff, or I don't have permission yet to do this. So all my video tracks for this are going to be muted, and the audio tracks. So you're just seeing my timeline. But what my first step would be to, in Premiere, go through each, and I'm going to put markers on every kind of start, every starting spot. This is all just text, so this is all one. So there's another shot. Here's another shot. Here's another shot. Here's another shot, etc. I'm gonna just the macro. You'll see in a minute, but you can set the amount of shots that you want for the whole thing. As a testing ground, I never went more than 10. So all these other markers that are actually not really for shots, I'm gonna just ignore for a minute. But basically, before I get into the macro, I'll explain why the markers are important. The macro is set to create a text layer at the top, and then it will extend it to the end of the sequence, and then it will move to each marker and create a cut point. And after it creates the cut point, then it will go back and paste the sequential numbering that you have set in the beginning. I'll show you that also in the beginning of the macro. And when it works, and I had a lot of trial and error with getting this done, but when it works, it should automatically add the sequential number. So if your first shot is shot 1, it'll paste shot 1 first, and then it'll go to the next one and do shot 2. So the other thing that's important is that you have nothing selected in your sequence when you start the macro. Also, I have selection follows playhead. I normally have this set on when I'm working in animation, but for this macro to work, that is kind of what it's set for. It assumes that that's active. The other thing, I think I set this, but it also, then I'm in Premiere 2025. So right now it includes using the properties panel, which does not exist in versions prior to 2024, I think. I don't even know if it's in 2024. So I'll go into my macro. So I'm in Keyboard Maestro. We're looking over here. So first thing it does, so it is set in my Premiere folder in my group. And basically every iteration that I could possibly have is all on here. But just because this has kind of followed me through a bunch of different versions of Premiere, that's just how my Premiere set is done. So this is scene IDs. I have this set as a menu item. The way that menu item is set up is that you need to be actively in the program in which the macro is enabled for, and then it'll show up in your things. So back to Keyboard Maestro. First thing it does is it's going to show a prompt for some info. It's going to look like this. See, it pops up over here, and you would type in your show format, with an underscore or something like that. Usually scene IDs are going to look something like that: 3-character show name, an underscore, a 3-character shot number starting 001. Some will go in increments of 10, so your first shot might be 010, and the next shot would be 020. This is set for a 001 format. If you are so need to change the format, you can dig into how the format is in Keyboard Maestro. So it's going to ask for the input, your format, the scene number format with and leaving space for the numbers, and then however many shots. It's set for default 10. Again, just because I was doing a test. If you were doing a full show, your shot numbers would probably range from, for a 22-minute show, couple hundred, 200 to 400 shots per show. So, mileage varies, but for this test, the default is 10, and obviously you can change it to however you want. Here's the stuff I had to look for smarter people on the internet for. This is going to come into play later, but basically it's setting a variable that is setting the number to 0 and setting the format. So that's going to come into play later. Next thing it's going to do is open up Premiere. Right now, because I'm working in Premiere 2025, I have it open 2025. You may need to, if you work between multiple versions of Premiere, do different ones for different versions, because I think that, or you can do an if and then thing. If Premiere 2025 is not open up 2024 and whatever. But again, I'm currently working in 2025. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to share a screenshot in this video of my keyboard. But the steps that this is doing is I mapped, look over here in Premiere, it's gonna lock all my audio tracks and video tracks, so it's not messing with anything. That's what these two things are. That's just the L, Option L and Control L are just what I set for. Will place a bunch of pauses in between these, because I've found, especially with Premiere and Keyboard Maestro, the interface needs some time to adjust to the speed in which Keyboard Maestro will run through commands. So it's kind of good to give it a little bit of a break. Half second or a second or even a quarter of a second. So Command T is create new text. Okay, here we go. Here's a new text layer. Shift End, I should say, goes to the end of the clip. Command 0 activates all video tracks. Control Option N selects the nearest edit point and makes it a ripple. So as I was editing my tutorial, I realized something that I had this macro set up for that may screw someone else up along the line. Again, because I was doing a test, it didn't occur to me. But at this step where I have Control Option N as the select nearest point to ripple out, I realized that ripple out, if you have markers set in your sequence to ripple out, I think you can, it's a ripple sequence markers. If you have that set and you were following my tutorial to this point as with the ripple out, at this point, when you extend this edit to the end, that's going to ripple all your sequence markers there. So I'm jumping in here and saying that I'm going to actually shift this to a roll instead of a ripple. So just from here on out, it's going to be a roll edit. So now I don't need to change anything in my Keyboard Maestro thing. It's just going to be a roll. Should still work. And that's it. Then I go end, which goes to the end of my sequence. My next thing is Command X, or a lot of people just have this set as E, but this is the extend edit to playhead. And that does that, and it goes back out. So now it's the full length of the shot. Then it's going to go back to the beginning. Back to the beginning of the shot. And then here's where your shot amount number comes in. In Keyboard Maestro, I found that you can do, when you do a repeat action, you can type in, if a variable is a number, like this variable is set to 10, you can type in that variable, and it will add that number. So it's going to repeat this next two steps however many times. So Shift M is go to the next marker. So this is where the markers come to play. Go to the next marker. Apple K is create and edit. And so this is just going to repeat these two things 5 times. Go to the next marker, create an edit. Go to the next marker, create an edit. So again, if you have 100 shots, this is going to do this. You'll just watch Premiere do it a bunch of times. All right, so it's going to do that. It's going to go however many times, going back to the start. Now it's going to do another repeating set of things. This keystroke is select next layer, graphics titles. Man, this will be all cut up. And so it's going to select the next layer, wait a second, bring up the properties menu, because the next thing, again, this is how I set it. I don't love having to do mouse clicks. But when I'm on my home system and I have my 3 monitors set up, I always have Premiere set. So I have this set. It's going to click right here, double click on this text layer thing, and that'll automatically allow me to paste a thing into that text layer. And then so here's, again, where some of the stuff that I grabbed from the wiki, the Keyboard Maestro wiki or the forums to help figure out how to do sequential numbering. I think I can kind of explain it, but basically this is going back to this variable. I just kept the variable how this person who created this thing is, but it's basically saying that this variable, if it doesn't exist, we're going to set it to 1. If it does exist, it's going to be this number plus 1. So earlier in my thing, I have it set to 0, just to zero it out every time. So then it's going to be, if it's empty or if it doesn't exist, it's going to start to 1. Otherwise, it's going to start at +1. So that's my way of being like, all right, if you want your first scene to be scene 1, this variable is automatically, every time this macro runs, going to reset itself to 0. And then this is going to make it 1. This works when you run it first, because this, in your Keyboard Maestro, this variable will not exist. You can always manually go into your Keyboard Maestro preferences, settings, go to variables, find it, delete the number on it, clear it out that way. That's a bit tedious, so I just have it do it itself in the macro. Kind of built it in that for itself. So this is an if-then situation. The next step is that it will take this number variable. So whatever the number is, it's going to change it to this variable, the name. I have it set so that the format that you picked at the beginning, that SHO_, will be added to the front. So so it's always going to be this format thing. So whatever your format is, if you have the underscore in there, you may have extra characters in there. You may have like an act 1 or an act B or whatever, like however your show, or you need to name it in your format. You should put it in your format, because after that last character of the format, it's going to add the number in this 000 format. Then it's going to set the system clipboard to this number. So that's going to allow it to paste. Then it will paste into Premiere. Your AO, whatever your thing is, whatever your name is. After paste, it's going to pause for a minute. Then it's going to select the next graphic. And then it's going to pause for another second. Then it's going to... Okay, I'm going to skip... I'll explain this quickly, but I haven't gotten it to actually take. But my intention was to get it to... I'll show it with this graphic. I wanted to set it for my top right corner. But I haven't gotten it to like stick. So that's what it's doing there. It lines it top right. It's still pausing. Then it's going to the next graphic, and it's repeating that whole set of actions. So, and then hypothetically, it should be done. So now I'm going to remove this, keeping my markers as is. Whenever you're starting a new one, all the tracks are deselected, everything is unlocked. Again, the macro is locking them all. You can manually start it that way. I always like starting with clean, then have the macros do some of that stuff. So we're going to test it out. I'm going to go to my pull down menu. I'm going to go to my scene IDs. This pops up. Show number. Again, I'm only going to do 5 instances this time. And then I'm going to hit OK, sit back and watch it go. See how they're like reset. And then you're done. This last one, it's stuck. So, nope. See, I clicked back in and it went away. So I don't know why it's doing that. But you go through, and there's your 5 instances. Again, if you had 100 of them, hypothetically, it would just repeat it 100 times, get you to SHO 100. If you had 300 shots, hypothetically, again, should do it. It may take way longer than you just saw, but that's the extent of it. Things that you might want to do after the fact. Again, if you wanted to move this to the top right corner, you may have to do that after the fact. Setting a color or fill or something like that. Again, you can do that as a default, whatever, like a stroke or something like that. That's all something you can do after the fact and batch copy on everything. All up to you, but I really wanted to see if I can do this with Keyboard Maestro. The answer is yes. It's a little messy because Premiere doesn't honestly make a lot of Keyboard Maestro macros that easy, because sometimes you just gotta rely on clicks instead of keyboard shortcut options. Newer versions of Premiere have added the ability to map muting and soloing and locking and unlocking tracks with keyboard clicks, which is great. And I think I may have been taking advantage of that by locking all video tracks and all audio tracks with a macro, with a keyboard shortcut. So that's it. All right, now this is just going to go quickly through some keyboard shortcut stuff. Option L, Control L, unlock and lock all audio tracks, unlock and lock all video tracks. Again, this might be something new that they added in this recent version of Premiere. I don't remember. If you are not using a version of Premiere that does that, you'll have to do it with a click and a shift. Shift click on the lock items does the whole track, if no matter which one you click, so you can do it that way. T. Command T, text. Shift end. Shift and go to selected clip end. Command 0. Command 0. Toggle all video tracks. That's what I've mapped. I think the default for command and all the numbers is like multicam stuff. But I map my command numbers 1 through 8 through like video 1 through 8. I command do my option ones for audio tracks. So that's just me. Control Option N. Select nearest edit point as roll. End, pretty easy. Go to the end of the timeline. Shift X. Extend, selected, edit to playhead. I have always borrowed Avid's mark in and mark out for E and R. I think extend on a basic on your default keyboard is E. So you may not need to map it to something more specific than that. But make sure that it's the selected edit to playhead thing. But it's super useful for doing clip extensions. And I honestly wish that I had found this one sooner and incorporate extend edits using only keyboard shortcuts way sooner than I have. But I'm using it for this thing. Maybe as I go forward, I'll start to use it more. Home, go to the beginning of the timeline. Shift M. Go to next marker. Command K. Add edit. Home, go to the beginning of the timeline. This crazy one. Command, Option, bracket. Command, Option, bracket. Select. Next layer. Graphics and title. Select next layer. That should be it for my keyboard shortcuts.